right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to take a totally standard, kind of boring sales report and turn it into a really powerful analytical tool. We're moving beyond just listing numbers to creating insightful ratios with DAX, ratios that actually tell a story about what's going on in the data. You've seen reports like this a million times, right? The numbers are all technically correct, but they just sit there. There's no context. It's almost impossible to see the bigger picture or figure out how one number relates to another. And that's exactly the problem we're going to solve today. So let's set the scene. We're starting with some very typical sales data from the AdventureWorks sample database. It's broken down by sales group, country, and region. You know, a classic setup you find anywhere. Okay, so here's our starting point, a standard matrix visual in Power BI. It's factually correct, for sure. But it doesn't really answer the important questions, does it? Like, how big is the Central region's contribution to North America as a whole? To get that answer, we gotta go deeper. To add that kind of context, we have to understand and, more importantly, manipulate the sort of secret rules that Power BI uses for every single calculation. This invisible framework is called the filter context, and trust me, learning to control it is the key to unlocking the real power of DAX. So what in the world is filter context? Well, the best way I found to think about it is like a set of lenses. Every single cell in our matrix is looking at the data through its own unique combination of these lenses. For one cell, the lenses might be Europe and Germany. For another, North America and United States. Our job is to learn how to swap out those lenses whenever we want. And the main tool we're going to use to change those lenses is the absolute superhero of DAX, the calculate function. It is, without a doubt, the most powerful function in the language because it lets us modify that filter context. It lets us change the rules of the game for any calculation whenever we want. And of course, every superhero needs a good sidekick. For calculate, a really common one is remove filters. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It lets us take one or more of those lenses off, which lets us see a much broader view of the data, like say a total or a subtotal. All right, enough theory. It's time to put these functions to work. Our first mission, should we choose to accept it, is to create a measure that calculates each region's sales as a percentage of the grand total. And here it is, our first key formula. Now, I know this DAX expression might look a little intimidating at first glance, but I promise the logic is really straightforward. It's designed to do one thing: take the sales for one specific row and divide it by the grand total of all the sales. Let's break this down. The first part, the numerator, is easy. That's just the sum of sales for whatever row we're on. But the denominator, that's where the magic happens. We're using calculate and remove filters to basically tell our formula, hey, for just this one part of the calculation, I want you to completely ignore any filters from the region table and give me the grand total of everything. Then we just divide the part by the whole. Simple as that. And the result? It's completely transformative. Suddenly, our report isn't just a list of numbers anymore. Each row now has crucial context. We can see, instantly, its exact contribution to the bigger picture. This, right here, is the power of controlling that filter context. Now, calculating a percentage of the grand total is super useful. But what if we need to get a bit more granular? Let's take it up a notch and calculate each region's sales as a percentage of its parent country total. The secret here is a tiny, and I mean tiny, but critical change in our formula. See, when we use remove filters on the entire region table, it strips away every filter associated with it, which includes group and country. But when we specify just the region column, we're telling DAX to only remove the region-level filter, while, and this is the important part, keeping the country filter active. It's a massive difference in the outcome from a tiny change in syntax. Now, this change gives us a really fascinating result. You'll notice that only the regions inside the United States are showing a percentage. Why is that? Well, it's because in our data, the US is the only country that actually has multiple regions under it. For a place like Germany, the region is the country, so of course it calculates as 100% of itself. This is a perfect example of how your DAX results are always tied directly to the structure of your data. Okay, our report is getting way more powerful, but it's also getting a little messy. All those 100% values are just visual clutter. A truly professional report should only show you information where it's actually meaningful, so let's polish this up. So the question becomes, how can we make our measures smart enough to know when to show a value? We really only want to see this percentage when we're looking at the region level, not at the country level where it's just distracting noise. And the answer is another fantastic little DAX function called ISINSCOPE. Think of it like a little detective for your visual. It just checks to see if a specific column, in our case the region column, is currently being used at that level of the hierarchy. It just returns a simple true or false. This lets us build our final, really elegant formula. We just wrap our entire calculation inside a simple if statement. It basically says, if the region column is in scope right now, then go ahead and do the division. Otherwise, just return a blank. It's so simple, so clean, and incredibly effective. And there you have it. The result is a clean, focused report. All that distracting noise is gone, and our ratio now only appears exactly where it adds value, at the region level. This simple check is what elevates a report from being just functional to being truly professional. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? What's the pattern we can use over and over again? Well, we've just uncovered a really powerful, repeatable pattern that you can apply to all of your own reports. Here's the core pattern, the blueprint really. If you want a ratio against the grand total, you use remove filters on the entire table. If you want a ratio against a subtotal, you use remove filters on just the specific lower level columns. And to make it all look clean and professional, you wrap your logic in an eyes in scope check. This is your go-to recipe for these kinds of powerful calculations. So we've gone from flat, boring numbers to a nuanced story about contribution and context. You now have the fundamental pattern to compare any part of your data to its whole. So the real question is, what hidden stories are just waiting to be discovered in your data? And what are you going to reveal?
Of Power BI, we'll go through modify DAX filter context. So we learn how to use calculate function to manipulate filter context. I'll share this GitHub link so that you can follow when you do into your own environment. And for this lab, yes, we need to download some repository files to proceed. So let me move this side and let me start the lab. So very first thing that open, you need to download those files. Uh, After downloading, go to the folder and open that 5 starter sales analysis. Let me open this snippets also. It has got all the code that you need for this lab. Let me put this side and open this Power BI file, starter sales analysis. So here file is open now. So very first task, we are going to create a new report page. So for that here, page 2, you can click that new page and do a matrix visualization as you have learned in our previous lesson. So you see that if you click, you can see the options. So what is that is, so click that matrix visualization, expand that one, make it little bigger. Now here from this data pane, uh, select the regions table and select these regions. You can drag here, or if I select, you can see that options available here. Next, we are going to add sales field from sales table. And to expand the inter hierarchy, we can just select this option so that we can see that level Now to format this visual in the visualization, we can select this format. Second option is that format your visual. Select that option, and in the search box enter layout. So it's getting layout related style presents here. So now here you can see that style, it has got default value. Then layout section, we are going to select this into tabular format. To select that tabular. So now it's becoming a tabular format, nice format like under Europe. You can see the countries. Then France, you can see the total for France, Germany, total field. Similar way, you can see that for North America, Pacific options for this layout. Now we'll manipulate filter context. So in this task, we'll create several measures with a DAX expression that use the calculate function to manipulate like filter context. So now let's go to the sales table and create a measure, new measure, and get the code. We are going to first one is sales all region. So we got that sales all region here, and we are going to add that our visualization. So select that sales all region. So here you can see that the sales all regions and measures that actually computes total for all region sales for each region. That we can see that here is a total field for Europe, total field for North America, and also total field for Pacific, that we can see. Now in the data pane, you can see that sales all region measure is selected. Now we want this as a dark gray background. So for that, let me see the formula. Now when you selected that sales all region, let's go to next formula like sales percent all region. So percent basis. So you can see its calculate function utility in between sum of sales with remove filters based on region. So you can see sales percent for all regions. So it just replace with that one and it replace that measure. So and convert that to percent. So it's get as a percent value now. And we are going to add another measure under sales table, new measure, and that sales based on country measure definition this time. Copy that. So you can see that salesperson country. Now add that one, salesperson country here. Select that. It's getting the salesperson country. Convert that to percentage. But it seems that something wrong formula. Divide sum of sales, calculate sum of sales, remove false. So if you look here, then you can see United States has got multiple regions that for you can see separate values, but all other just only one that for you don't see, you just see one field with that one. Now next to improve this readability or measures, let's use this next formula, salesperson country measure definition 2. Copy that one, replace this. Okay. Let me drag down little bit down. Oh no, that's it. So salesperson country, I'm going to modify using this second formula. And press enter. So now you can see nice scope is here based on region specific. Now let's add another measure. We're going to measure that salesperson group measure definition. So salesperson group, we have got that one. Now add this into matrix visual. So select that one. You can see that one here. But readability is not good. Again, it's going, you see. So to make it more nice way, let me modify that one with second definition. So this is much better to see the output. So now salesperson group is only return a value when a like country or a region ISINSCOPE. Now go to model view and this place these three measures into a folder. So select this all region, country and group. Give a folder name, ratios, press enter. So I put them in a folder, ratios folder, and then save that one. So that actually completes our lab. So we have learned how to use the calculate function to manipulate filter context. And thank you for joining. If you have any question, please add that into comment sections. Otherwise, see you into next lab.